to talk about South Carolina, who's coming
No,
in here on Sunday.
I'd rather not if we don't have to. But since we do have to, um, I've been, I had them preseason number one. I've had them pretty much number one most all year, even after a loss. That's pretty rare for a team to lose to an unranked team middle of the year and not fall in the polls. I think it shows you what they've done, how many top 5, 10, 15, 20 teams they've beaten. They played really well and seem to be getting better and better every game. Thought they were really impressive last night. They can beat you a lot of different ways. There's no scouting report that's going to help you. You've got to be great in all facets and kind of hope you catch them on a night when they're not so great. That's kind of who they are. I'm proud they're in our league all days except for when we play them.
Paul.
Obviously, Aaliyah Boston jumps out, but what I was going to ask is, what area do you feel like specifically maybe they're better at than they were a year ago?
Depth. I mean, they can go too deep at every position. If somebody's not doing what Coach Staley and her staff want, they just make a personnel change until they get it. And that player either does it or the player that they took out changes. There's people have tried everything against Boston. They've tried to not guard her. They've tried to double, triple team her. Victoria Saxton has always been a menace to us. She is such a, I call it an amplifier like Riley. She just makes everybody better. Last year, we decided not to guard Bria Bill very much. She was player of the week that week with 22. So there's no holes. You can't, you're going in with this prep and you're going to try to do what you're going to try to do. You're going to have a plan. You're going to stick to that plan, but they kind of have to meet you halfway. I mean, they have to not make those shots you're going to give up. And then when they miss it, I look at their second effort points. It's like 25% of their offense. So I don't think they have any holes. I think they're deeper. I think they're really, really focused. I think the way the year ended for them last year at the buzzer, I know Coach Staley uses those types of things better than anybody out there to keep her team focused and motivated. And then she put together an incredibly challenging schedule. So they are tested. Like I said, we're not going to be able to do anything they haven't seen. We just hopefully we can maybe offensively do some things that they're not accustomed to doing, having to guard our bigs a little bit, getting a Boston away from the basket. I don't know if how much you've watched, but Boston was really, she looks a little different. She's quicker. She's always been agile. She's always been fast on her feet, but she's even faster. And very rarely do you put a 5-player like that that's averaging a double-double that's, shooting 37% from the three-point line too. So I just think they've all individually made improvements. Destiny Henderson's playing at another level. Zia Cook, all of them. They've all made individual improvements. And I'm not saying they're doing anything better. They're just all better at what they've always been good at. They just continue to improve.
And I guess I'll follow with, how is your team at this point? Coming off a nice win, played well, got contributions from a lot of people. You feel good about where they are at this point?
No, I do. I love it. I love how it's going to go tomorrow. We had a great practice yesterday. We'll have another good one today. This team is so fun because they'll do whatever you ask, and they're adaptable. They're doing it together right now. I think that game Sunday, if we play like we did in the first half, for 40 minutes, then you got a shot. You don't turn it over. We didn't turn it over. You can't turn it over against these guys, especially because that's just, not only is it a wasted trip, but now it's an opportunity for them to run in transition. So if we play like we did in the first half, I think we're in a good spot. We've kind of settled in, with getting everybody back now for a couple of games. Amber and Emory getting back. It's helped having, Miriam and Saylor with our practice guys during with school being out. Erin's getting closer. She'll start practicing with us next week. But just having her back in the gym doing basketball things has been kind of a lift as well.
So are you saying that Erin be like full go to practice next week?
Okay. Next week we think, yeah. but she's not right now. We're hopeful that if next week we can get her back in some contact.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, I was watching that A&M South Carolina game yesterday, and all they're talking about is Aaliyah Boston, her nutrition, and she's lost 25 pounds, and her vertical's up 25%, and all the bad news that they can deliver about Aaliyah Boston.
And she was working out with Tim Duncan all summer. Yeah.
So what's the plan? Who do you put on Aaliyah Boston?
Well, you start with Emory and Jersey and Oberg. That's where it starts. And then you've got to have another half helping and sometimes a full. So we worked a lot yesterday. Again, I do think, like they were saying, I think she's been the best player at as of right now, if the vote happened today, probably wouldn't be very many people vote for anybody other than Aaliyah Boston for Player of the Year. So you can't expect one-on-one coverage. You have to do it as a team. But it starts with those three people. They can't give her angles to the basket. They can't start fighting her for space at the, below the foul line. You got to meet her early. And then we got to get some help from, Amber's really good at playing off the ball and helping us on those bigs. Amber's going to have to be really, really good. Sasha will have to be really, really good. It's hard for Sam and Mac to go down there and be much of a difference, but we want them to dig it. She doesn't dribble it very much. So they don't give us a lot of help down there because they can't get to it. But if she does dribble it, or if we happen to tip it away, it takes all five players. But it does start with Jersey, Emory, and Destiny, fighting her for space early in the possession, and then not letting her move you 6 feet, 6 inches maybe, but not 6 feet. But it starts with them, and then it relies on somebody else to help.
What did you guys learn, if anything, looking at the tape against Missouri and what Missouri was able to do at home against South Carolina to win?
They used Haley Frank to draw Boston away from the basket, and she made a bunch of threes. Then that got her away from the basket, and then Hanson's able to drive it, and other players were able to drive it. So you've got to do a couple of things well for that to open up. You got to make some. So Jersey, Emory have got to make some of those shots. I think the hard part is scoring on them. I mean, I've seen people that can slow them down a little bit, but then you got to turn around and try to score on them on the other end. They really protect the bucket and they protect the arc, which is what we try to get. So we need to make a few threes. We need to have really good shot quality. We need to not try to take it too deep. We need to settle for some mid-range shots, which everybody always says I don't like. They're fine if that's what they're giving us, and we got to make a few of those.
How do you feel like this team mentality? Like, you've got a lot of girls who have never played South Carolina before, and then you have Amber and Mac who have played them a lot. So how does their leadership kind of help settle the nerves that I'm sure these girls have facing a team like South Carolina for the first time?
Yeah, and Amber and Mac are really good storytellers. They can go back and talk. Amber can talk about it. She didn't play in the game, but she was around for the SEC tournament. I think Destiny Henderson's the only player, maybe Grissett, were the only players on their team the last time we beat them. So I think you draw from other big games. You draw back to last year's UConn. And if we can get the crowd that I think we'll anticipate having on Sunday, they'll feel it. Our kids will feel it, and those nerves will go away. And these kids have all been in big games, enough so far, I think. But, there is a certain difference that comes when the number one team walks in. They're up, anywhere from 8 to 10 points, maybe more if you let it. So we got to diminish that number too. It's really helped having Miriam and Saylor in our guys practice squad because they do a pretty good job of simulating them. So we've done that for 2 days. We'll do it for a third day today. And hopefully it'll feel a little more normal on Sunday.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jacob.
Mike, after the way you guys played on Sunday, is it nice to have a full week to prepare for South Carolina and not have to worry about a midweek, or would you have preferred to jump right back into game action after the way you guys played?
Because we'd already been kind of on a little bit of a break, I would have preferred to keep going because, you can kind of ride that momentum. It's hard to get momentum in this game, in our league, but when you get it, you want to capture it. It was both. I would tell you it was both. It gave us a chance to go back and look at the good. You always say catch them doing good. We were able to show them a lot of positive film. We had so many good things from the Missouri game. I showed them Russell's video. I don't know if y'all saw it. It was really well done. The video of everybody high-fiving and touching and patting each other on the back. We showed them that along with some other stuff. So it was both, Jacob. But I sure would have rather played a game last night. I know our kids would have too. So we hopefully will simulated it good enough that we will have some carryover and we won't lose that momentum. But it's hard to bottle that up in the practice gym.
You've talked about the crowd a lot for games like these. How important can the crowd be as a difference maker when you're, kind of need everything to go right to beat a team like South Carolina?
Well, it kind of goes back to what I said. If we can catch South Carolina not on their A+ game, the crowd can be the difference in a win or a loss. It's just that simple. I don't think we pull off any of the last few wins. You can go back to Baylor, South Carolina, those big game, or UConn, Baylor, those ones at home. Without that, it would have been hard. So I honestly believe it's the difference in winning and losing if we play well. I don't want to put all the pressure on them. If we don't play well, it's irrelevant. But if we play well and they don't play well, and it's 50-50 now, the crowd could be that 0.5 difference. Because our particular group is really aware of it. Like they sense it, they know it, and they're all pleasers. I've said that so many times with this group since day one. So the more people there are there to please, I think the better effort we get.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep, thank you.
Russell.
Coach, mine was similar to what Alyssa asked on her last question, but just that big game experience that you had from Baylor and UConn last year, here at home especially, and I know that the teams are different, but just how that experience can carry over, I guess.
Well, there's familiarity, with the routine and the preparation for somebody that I mean, listen, I'm not going to trick these kids and say, hey, you know what? South Carolina's really not as good as everybody says. They watch, they know, they're aware. So I think having them know that can be said when UConn came in and when Baylor came in here, and we did everything we could do to control it. We played great. We stayed together. We handled the moments when it looked like it might slip away, the big runs. Baylor went on one, UConn went on one, but the crowd kept us in it. I think they can remember back to that, and that familiarity can get you through some of those tough spots. And it's going to take, like I said, we've got to play great to start, and then all those other little things will start creeping back in if we do that. But I think it's worth whatever the point differential is. I talked about a second ago with them coming in the gym as the number 1 ranked team. If that is worth 8 or 10 points, I think a big crowd can make up for that. And the experience of knowing, hey, we've been here before. This is what it feels like. It normalizes it. It normalizes those experiences, and it calms people down. And again, our young kids that are playing right now, they've all been in big games on whatever level they played, whether it was a high school state championship. And it's just like everything else. It's just a step bigger in the SEC. So I think it's important that they get that experience without having to expect them. Did I lose y'all? There we go. Without expecting them not to have some nerves. I think it's good that they'll have some nerves and some nervous moments, because that's where the growth will come from them in the future.
Jordan.
Coach, what are you guys doing in practice to protect the ball so well? Like, how were you able to have so few turnovers last game, and how can you do that on Sunday?
I gave Destiny Oberg credit for a lot of it. She recalled a few practice drills that we used to do when she first got here, where we don't get to take shots unless we complete 5 straight passes that are all strikes. Like they've got to be, between the shoulders and the knees and within the body. And if that pass is not a strike, that group doesn't get to shoot. Well, you don't want to be the person that throws the non-strike, or you don't want to be the person that drops the ball. So you make it important. You emphasize it. Sometimes we forget we become what we emphasize, and we had gotten away from emphasizing good passing. Passes were here, passes were high, low, to the side, at our knees. We made a video edit of our guards trying to throw Jersey the ball below her knees. Okay, well, that's impossible catch for Jersey ever, much less as a freshman on the move playing out of position. So throw it at her chin, she'll catch it. So a little bit of emphasis on it, some drill work, but mainly just emphasizing it, Jordan, just making sure that is a priority. And like I said, Oberg gets the credit for bringing it up, and then our kids the credit for we've started every practice since she brought that up with a little 50 passing drill that they know if we don't throw 50 straight passes, we're not going to shoot until we do.
And you mentioned the crowd, its importance, but and we saw your message online, but maybe a message to them from you that they can hear, you know, bad weather this weekend, all the craziness going on. Why do fans need to be at Bud Walton on Sunday?
Because it could be the difference. Yeah, obviously don't do anything outside your safety comfort. If we do get the snow they're predicting, we can sense you there, whether you're there or not. You know, they read social media. We try to keep them away from it some, but they're all on it. They know our support. And they'll know the difference between whether it's a bad weather game, and the people that'll be there can make up the difference. But weather permitting, I just think it's an opportunity to grow our game for our kids. If you've got somebody that's never seen Dawn Staley, I mean, you could argue that she's one of the people in our game right now that of a youngster's lifestyle that you'd want to say, hey, I saw Dawn Staley this one time. You know, I was at that game when Dawn Staley was there. She's been our Olympic coach. She was a gold medal player. She's obviously going to be in the Hall of Fame with multiple national championships. Going to be our Olympic coach again. So just all of those things, plus, you know, continue to support us. It's just a great opportunity for young kids to hopefully see a great game and see a lot of people that are icons in it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Anything else for Coach?
Hey, I was just going to ask you. You sort of answered a little bit about, but what's it like playing the number one team in the country? I mean, I know we talked. You know, we've talked about Baylor and UConn, and I mean they're something different. I mean, but they weren't number one when they came here. So.
Right. I mean, I think it still feels the same. 2, 3, 4, 5. All those numbers kind of. If you got a single digit beside your number, you're pretty good. But you know, for me, it gives you that. I hate the David and Goliath comparison, but it does give you an opportunity to play loose. You know, our kids have gotten to where people around here expect us to beat everybody we play, and we love that. I don't know that anybody's going to bet their job on Sunday on it. So play loose, try some things, take some chances, understand what it is. But I think what I like most about our group is they want to see how close to that they are right now and what it's going to take to get there. These young kids, I think they see the possibility that down the line, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, this group could be that group. And I want them to see that. I want them to see how South Carolina has kept this group together, and they've continually improved. Each of them. You see somebody like Aaliyah Boston going into her junior year, take the time to do the things that Alyssa was talking about that she's mentioned she does and has done. There's no settling. They've been good. They've been great. They've been number one. They were unanimous number one during the COVID year, but they still kept working and they still keep tinkering, and they're never satisfied. And that's one thing I want our kids to see up close and personal. And I think with the number one team, you get that.